In September 2022, my then workplace decided to lay off 45% of their staff. So with no job, I set out on a European backpacking trip, hoping to have more of a Euro trip experience than a hostel one. I booked a €20 one-way Ryanair flight from Helsinki to Zadar, Croatia. I spent 2 days there and stayed at an Airbnb for €52 before catching a €15 Flixbus ride to Zagreb. I stayed there 1 day at a hostel that I booked through Airbnb for €20, then got a €15 Flixbus ride to Ljubljana. I stayed in Ljubljana for 4 days at a capsule hotel that cost me €90 total. While having a few beers at Union Brewery, I got a call from a job that I had applied to, and we set up a time for a virtual interview. Then I took a €25 Flixbus ride to Bratislava, where I stayed for 3 days at an Airbnb for €92. There I had my interview and it went well. From Bratislava, I flew to Brussels via Ryanair for €17 and stayed 1 day at an Airbnb that cost €71. Then I took a €15 Flixbus to Dusseldorf, where I stayed 1 night at a hotel for €55. The next day I took a train to Oberhausen, where I went to an overnight rave. In the morning I took a train back to Dusseldorf, where I laid around in the sun along the canal, half asleep until my €15 Flixbus ride back to Brussels, where I then caught a shuttle bus to Charleroi Airport, where I spent the night sleeping, before taking another €17 Ryanair flight back to Bratislava in the morning. After landing in Bratislava, I caught a €25 Flixbus to Brno, where I spent 2 days and stayed at a hotel for €80. Then took a €25 Flixbus ride to Krakow, where I spent 3 days staying at a private room hostel I booked through Airbnb for €75. From Krakow, I took a €30 Ryanair flight to Venice, where I spent 2 days staying at a shared hostel for €38, and there in the hostel lobby I had my follow-up interview. From there I took a €7 Flixbus ride to Trieste, where I stayed for a day at a shared hostel for €25. Then I took a €15 Flixbus ride back to Ljubljana, where I rented an electric car for 2 days for €60 and visited Lake Bled, the Skojan Caves, and Predjama Castle. I stayed in Slovenia for a total of 7 days at another capsule hostel that cost €125. At this point, I had been traveling for a month, and the Finnish company I had been interviewing at asked me to come for an in-person interview. So I booked a last-minute flight to Helsinki for €200, went to the interview, was given the job, and started working a week later.